Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shanna. So glad you're here today. Now, today I'm going to make a card. I kind of cased a card, but by Nicole Spar, and this will turn out nothing like hers because I'm not using any of the products that she had. But I am going to attempt to make something similar. So I'm showing you everything that I'm using. I've got the Essential Hexigem dies there that I'm going to use to cut out some frames. I've just got them together. I've got a bunch of Distress Oxide ink, and I've got some crackle paste, some twine, some stencils, and some floral stamps. And like I said, none of these are at all what she's using in her video that I saw. But these are things that I thought were similar, and I could probably use them to come up with something similar, but it will be very different just based upon the materials that I have to use. Hers, I think, turned out a lot better. Anyway, she doesn't use crackle paste, but that's the only paste that I have. So I'm going to use it. I think she used some other type of dimensional paste with her stencil, and her stencil was quite different, but this is what I have, so I'm using it. And I'm just going to put some of this crackle paste on each corner and just lift the stencil up. I've got to get everything cleaned up and put away, and we'll lay this aside to dry. Now I've cleaned everything up and I'm just drying it down. You want to immediately clean that stuff after you use crackle paste or paste of different sorts. Now I'm going to bring in my Misty, and I'm going to do some stamping, and I'm going to use these floral dies here to do some stamping. And I've just got a sheet of hammer mill paper. I'm going to pull these layering Oopsie Daisy stamps from Cat Scrappiness, and I'm going to start stamping them down. So I'm grabbing the base layer stamp, and I'm going to get it laid down on my card panel there, and I'm bringing in the stem and the leaves, and I'm going to get this first layer stamped up here. And I've got my, I was checking to see if I had one of the stamps I had upside down. So I'm going to start over with the two florals and get them positioned again and then pick them up. I've got the waffle flower sticky mat inside my Misty there, and so it'll hold down my paper. And I was releasing a bubble that was on one of the stamps there when I lifted it. And I'm just going to use this mustard seed as my lightest color for my bottom floral layer, and we'll get this stamped down. I'm going to use, I think this is Salvage Patina is what I think I'm using there, and I don't like it, and I wind up stamping a whole bunch of leaves and stems that I'll show on camera, and I don't use those because I decided to change my color and go with a different color. So I'm just going to get all this stamped up, and then we'll move on to our next layer. I'm looking at that color, and I don't think I like it, so I'm going to add some moss to it, try to darken it up a little bit. I'll also stamp my base flowers again with my mustard seed just to darken them up a little bit. And then we'll press down on this again, and then we'll move on to our next layer. So I've cleaned up my stamps, I've cleaned up my Misty, and I'm grabbing my second layer, and I'm going to get them lined up on the first layer according to how they need to be lined up. And these are kind of tricky. You have to really get your head in there and make sure you get them lined up right. And so I'll take my time at doing this, and then we'll just get them stamped down as well. So we'll just bring in a darker ink color, and this is Rusty Hange, I believe, and we'll get it stamped, and we'll get the second layer done. So we'll press them down, and we'll get our Misty cleaned off again, and we're going to bring in our third layer, and then we'll just get it stamped down as well. It's going to take me a minute to get these lined up on there. So I don't know, I was just watching, I love watching different crafters, and I saw Nicole's video, and I thought the frames were interesting that she did on there with the flowers, and I thought I probably had some layering flowers that I could stamp down, and I could use some of my dies to create the frames and maybe do some blending and have a similar card. Now, like I said at the beginning, I think hers turned out far better than mine did, but I wanted to give it a try. I think if I had to do it again, I would have stamped these flowers in a lighter color, more pale, because hers were quite a bit lighter, and I liked the result that she had. Her flowers were a lot more daintier than what these were too, and I think I like that. But I'm going with the colors that I have, the stamps that I have, and the dies that I have, and just kind of replicating what she did. So we're going to get this crackling campfire stamped down onto the larger flower there, and I had grabbed the wrong center for the other one, so that's why I wiped it off and cleaned it up. Now I'm just gonna remove this and I'll lay the center down on that is correct. There's two. First one would be the crackling campfire, and then the second one would be your darker, I guess, vintage photo that I would put down on there, or ground espresso. So I'm just gonna stamp the center of this one down, and then I'll bring that other one in that I accidentally laid down on there first, and it's got like some dots and some little edgings in there. And the reason why I grabbed the wrong one was I had them in the wrong spot on the stamp sheet. So I'm just going to get that, and we'll ink this up and stamp it down. And then off camera, I will do a whole bunch more stamping of the leaves and stems and another flower, and we'll get everything die cut out, and then we'll be ready to begin assembling our card. So now I have everything die cut out, and my crackle paste has dried, and I'm going to stencil over this. Now, she had like a watercolor stencil that was very beautiful. I don't have that, but I've got this stencil that's kind of got a funky pattern on it that I think could be interesting, and I'm just going to tape it down on my paper, and then I'm just going to tape and tape and tape and make a mess and use a bunch of tape because I wanted to kind of tape off the areas so that I wouldn't make a mess out of the card base. And I get started, and then you'll see I'll add a bunch more tape. So I'm going to bring in a couple of my Distress Oxide colors, Salvage Patina, and Cracked Pistachio, I think. And I'm just going to do some blending here around this stencil, trying to make a light watercolor look on here. And I don't quite accomplish the look that I want, but I just didn't have the stencil that she had. However, I could have probably just did some ink smushing or something like that and came up with something a little bit similar to what she did. But I'm going to just kind of follow. She used a stencil, I'm going to use a stencil. And she used two colors, so I'm going to use two colors. And I think these might be the same or similar colors to what she used. Now I'm going to bring in a second stencil that is a Simon Says Stamps and stencil, and it's one that is a layering stencil, and it had like some circular or somewhat circular piece elements to it, and I'm kind of just inking them up and then making them look like they are watercolor droplets. So I'll just do that, and then we'll remove the tape from our stencils. After I get these removed, I'm going to clean up my area a little bit, and then we'll just do some blending. We need to blend this out. It kind of looks like I've got a lightning bolt down the middle of my page. So I'm going to take my blending brush and just blend this all together, add some color, try to go around the edges and add just a lighter bit of blending around the square that we've got going on there. And we'll just blend it all out. And I'm going to add a little bit of that ink to the crackled area and just try to soften the look a little bit. And a lot of this is going to be covered, so it's not going to matter, but I just wanted to get kind of that background look going there so that it's not so bare. And I'm just going to kind of straighten my panel because it's a little bent from the crackle paste. And I'm going to clean up my hands so that we can begin building this card. And I'm going to get my desk clean so that I don't get my card base messed up. And I'm going to bring in all my elements. I've just got this little purple tray here. I've got all my little flowers and stems and leaves in there. I have got my Hexi Gem dies there, essential Hexi Gem dies that I used, and I just taped them, the two of them together to get my frames. I've got my frames in there. My stems are far too short for this design, so I die cut 6 stems out so that I could double up the stem for each one of my flowers, and then I'm going to glue them together. And I'm just trimming the white edge off so that I can kind of line them up and glue them together. Now this glue point won't matter because you won't see it. We're going to use that twine to cover up the glued part where I joined the two pieces together. So I'll just glue that down, and that'll make our stems longer. And now I'm just going to figure out how I want to position my stems. I think I'm going to make one taller so that that bigger flower can be in the back and up higher, and then we'll have the two smaller ones down lower. And so I think that's how I want it. So I'm just going to add some glue to my stems and start layering them up in the position that I want them, and just get them glued down so that they're all ready to go. I'm going to clean this off my craft desk so that I don't glue my stems to my glass mat, and still make sure that my positioning is okay after I've glued them. And I'm going to put glue directly on that first flower. The other ones all pop up, but right now I guess I'm adding my leaves. Now my leaves are nothing like the leaves in her picture. She had real long, lanky leaves, and I've got little short, squatty ones. But I'm using what I've got, and I'm just going to get them laid down on here with some glue. And then I'm going to pick it up and pinch it together with my tweezers just to help it glue. And then I'm going to take my twine and wrap it around there. I start off wrapping it around 3 times, and then I realize it's too bulky. And so I just undo one, and I just have 2 layers around my stems. And then I'll just trim down the twine to something that's a little bit more reasonable for my card. So we'll just grab the scissors and snip them off. And I think I'll snip them maybe 2 more times afterward just to get them the right size and how I want them. So I'm going to put a dab of glue on there. I'm going to take that biggest flower and put it on the back tallest stem there and pinch it together. And I'm kind of eyeballing how it's going to fit on my A2 size card base. And I've got my little frames here that I've already die cut out. And I've put some pop-up tape, some foam tape on the back of them to layer it up. And I'm going to position my flower elements inside of there, and I'm going to glue my largest one down to my frame, and then I need to add some more foam tape to the back. I left it open just as Nicole did, and I'm going to add the bottom foam tape now that I've got my stems laying there, and we'll cover up the stems and add the foam tape so everything will lay even. So I'm just going to eyeball it again, and I need to figure out how I want them. So I'm going to bring my other frames in, and I'm going to position them just to make sure I get it in the right spot that I want it in. And I've lost my third little frame, I think. It's only probably a third of the frame, and it's actually laying upside down on my tray, but I'll find it in a minute. There it is. And you can see it's just about a third of my frame. And I just, that's as much as I could get from the A2 size brown panel that I cut these out of. And so I'm just going to position it like that. And I'm going to try and get my frames equal distance apart. But I'm going to start off with this one. I'll just pull the release paper from this, and we'll get this frame laid down with our floral element. And I'm going to try and snuggle it in there right where I want it. And I'm going to check my other frames and see if I can get them lined up. I decided since this one was the shortest frame and I would have to get it close to the top, that I would line it up first and figure out the distance, and then I would move the other one accordingly so that they could be evenly spaced out. Now I've realized that I'm going to have quite a bit of that frame left, and I just pointed to the corner of my paper, the edge of my paper. I've decided that I'm going to cut this frame off, and then I'll add the remainder of it to that empty bare space. Now Nicole did not do that on hers. She only had the 3 frames, but I'm going to do it because I feel like that area seems blank and I probably didn't ink blend enough there. So I'll just get this laid down how I want it, trim this off, and then we'll take that, and we're not going to waste it, and we'll put it over there just to kind of fill in that space. So this is another way that I'm going to make my card different. Obviously my florals are a lot more bulkier and not quite as delicate as hers are. And my stenciling was with crackle paste and not regular glue. And I didn't have a watercolor stencil either. I used what I had. So I'm going to position these, and at first I think the flower on the right is a little bit too big, but then I realize if I rotate it, I can turn it to where it won't be hanging off my card base. At first I thought I was going to have to cut it down, but then I will actually rotate it to where it will fit, and we'll just have all three of these nestled in here nicely together. And I'm going to pop up both of those. Actually, that one doesn't need pop, just the one, because I have a lot of stuff that it's going to lay on there. And I'm going to trim up that twine again. And then I'm going to bring in my Hello Sentiment, and mine's not quite as wispy as hers. Mine's more of a block, I don't know, sentiment. But I've got 3 whites and I've got a gold, and I'm just going to layer them all up and have a good chunky Hello Sentiment. And then up there above my card, I've got another sentiment. And it says, you're the best. And I think Nicole said, you're awesome. It said, hello, you're awesome. Mine says, hello, you're the best. And I just took a stamp from just a random stamp set that I had, and I stamped it down on some white Hammermill cardstock, used one of my Spellbinders banner dies to cut it out, and it's ready to go. So we'll just get this hello layered up and get it positioned down there on our card base. And I'm going to pinch it together there. And I'm cleaning up again because I know I'm going to bring that card base in, and I don't want it to get ink or glue on it. I want it to be nice for my recipient. And I know I've got a stray piece of foam laying over there, and I'm going to get it and lay it down on the back of this. I will have to add some more. I realize after I get it laid down that I need more, so I will tuck some more in. But just getting this hello all nice and tight, kind of cleaning up any little hairs or anything that's on there from the die cutting machine. And I'm going to stick some glue on the back of this, and we'll get this laid down, and then we'll add our You Are Awesome. And I'm going to position it on my leaves a little bit, and I'm going to get this, and then I realize that I don't have enough foam tape on there, and I'll push it down, and then I'll have to grab some foam tape and we'll do some tucking. So I'm just going to cut some strips and do a little tucking here so that it doesn't get squished in my envelope and look weird when my recipient gets it. So we'll just tuck that in. Things are sticking to my fingers. And then I realize I think I've got all the elements together, and then I think I need to bring in some embellishments. So I go to my embellishment drawer, and I've got some Cat Scrappiness teal ones that I have left here, and I'm just going to use them all up on this card. So I'll put I'll put a big one and a small one in this large white area to kind of fill in, and then I'll put another one with a medium size down here in the lower area, and then I'm going to take the last one that I have in that particular teal color and put it in the upper corner, and I think that turns out nice. So I'm going to get it laid down on card base, and then we'll be all together. Normally I would have put it on the card base sooner than this, but for some reason I did not. Now, off camera, after I get finished, I will tuck some more leaves. If you recall, I did stamp and die cut out more leaves, and so then after I looked at it, I thought I need some more leaves added to this card. So I will add some more leaves. I'll also take some stickles. I'm going to use some, I don't know, what color is this? Some orange and some yellow stickles, and put them on my flower centers, and that will further embellish my card. So I appreciate you watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.